Hey there, it's Tim Kelley, author of the book True Purpose. I want to talk to you today about intuition. I'm a pretty logical guy. I have a math degree from MIT. I spend a lot of time working with computers. I now work with leaders all around the world and help them vastly increase their intuition, and I want to share with you some of what I've learned from doing that. First, I want to offer kind of a definition of intuition. I would call it a form of direct knowing as opposed to logic or rationality where we figure out something based on the available evidence. Intuition is sort of like skipping past that process and getting right to the answer without having to have the data or the evidence or to do any logical thinking to figure out what's true, what's going to happen. Being a pretty logical guy, it actually bothered me when I was younger that there were people I knew who could figure stuff out, who would know answers that they had, in my view, no right to know because they didn't have the information, but they could just skip ahead to the answer. So I made a study of intuition and really developed my own and learned how to develop other people's as well. What I discovered is that it's possible to increase your intuition tremendously, far greater than most people think is possible. Most people's experience of intuition is sort of little flashes of information that come into them, sort of a sense of knowing or a physical or emotional sensation that says, oh, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, that they can't necessarily trace the cause or the reason for. Some people have learned to trust their intuition, some people are much more hesitant about it, but the key thing I want to get across here is what most people call intuition is very, very small amounts of information that come without them being able to necessarily control when the information comes. And what I learned from my own study of intuition was that it's possible to increase your intuition tremendously to such a state that you can access it whenever you want and not just get little snippets of information like a vague feeling or a sense that you should go left or right or this is a good idea or a bad idea, but actually much more information, including images and words, to such an extent that you can have long conversations with your intuition and interview it about things you're planning on doing and get detailed intuitive guidance and information about your plan or about your decision or problem or whatever it is that you're facing. And usually, just as you would expect, the intuition can skip ahead to solutions, goals, different things that you could do or things that you could have that logically you would never have gotten there on your own. But when you hear your intuition tell you, well, do it this way or do it this way or go this way, you think, oh, wow, that makes so much sense. I never would have figured out that on my own, but now that I hear my intuition telling me to do that, I see the wisdom in that. So why can't everyone do this? Well, there's a couple different reasons. The two biggest ones, though, one is lack of practice. Most people don't make the kind of concerted effort I did to practice checking their intuition, using it in decision making, and then see what happens. That's a very important practice you can do. But an even bigger reason, in my experience, why the vast majority of people have such limited access to their intuition is because of fear. That they have fears or doubts or skepticism or limiting beliefs that prevent them from being able to access the full flow of intuition that's available. So, how do you deal with this stuff? Well, the fears and limiting beliefs, the blocks, the internal parts that maybe have questions or concerns about you using your intuition, there's a whole variety of different techniques for dealing with them. I like to use voice dialogue, which is a way of talking with individual parts. You can identify and clear limiting beliefs. You can identify and clear fears using things like emotional freedom technique or theta healing or the work. There's many, many, many ones of these. When I work with people, I usually find it's possible to get them greatly increased intuition within the span of maybe an hour, perhaps less, perhaps a little bit more. And we can do it with large groups of people. We've done up to 400 at a time in maybe 3 hours and get 95% of them with greatly increased intuition. And the way we do it is by figuring out what the fears are that are in the way, and the way we deal with those fears is figuring out what are all the things that would need to be true for it to be completely safe for you to access your intuition and follow its guidance on a regular basis. And once those things are established, actually the flow usually just opens up naturally. The other thing that we find really useful in increasing your intuition is identifying its source. Now, for many people, intuition feels like sort of a channel of communication, right? They're receiving information via their intuition. The question is receiving information from where? From where? And there's a very cool technique we do to help you identify what are the candidate sources from which you could get intuition, and to help you set up a two-way talking, verbal words, channel of communication with that intuition. Turns out there's various other techniques that instead of just sort of going inside and trying to get the intuition that way, there are other techniques that work much better for setting up a two-way dialogue between you and the source of your intuition, so that you can ask any question you like and get long, detailed answers to it in words. Once that happens, it can create some very interesting changes in your life, because you have the experience of being guided on a regular basis, being on a path, and being able to use your intuition to choose the best path forward, even if you don't have enough information to make good decisions. Over time, if you're someone who's interested in evolving personally or helping evolve the world, this is an invaluable tool that consistently shows you the shortest path to get what you want, paths that you would not have been able to see on your own. Anyway, I encourage you to start practicing following your intuition and seeing what happens, testing it to see how accurate it is, and noticing what are the things that come up and get in the way of contacting that intuition. What are the things that come up and prevent you from hearing what the voice of your intuition has to say? Good. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope we get a chance to talk again further in the future.